welcome to Friday's edition of the morning right here on Delta Television. My name is Ogaga Ekaman. On behalf of the board, management, and staff of Delta Broadcasting Service, I welcome you to our broadcast today, the 25th day in the month of July 2025. It's a wet Friday morning in the city of Asaba, and it happens to be the last Friday of the month as well. Today on the show, we've got an interview coming your way, and of course, we review different headlines from the different newspapers. I'm not alone this morning. I've got Perpetual Igboba here with me. Good morning, Perpetual. How are you doing?
Good morning, Ogaga. I'm cold.
Cold.
That's how I'm doing. This weather.
You're doing cold. Oh, you're doing cool. Which one? So,
I'm cold and it's not funny. It's affecting me.
okay. So, all right. So, I was a little bit distracted.
Yes.
So, you said you are cold.
Yes, the weather is cold and it's not really helping matters. Like, it's been cold. Like, okay, yesterday was a bit sunny, it was kind of warm. Then towards evening it became very, very cold. Now leading up to this morning, it was getting cold and cold. Actually, this is just everybody please invest in warm clothing. This is not a time for you to be scantily clothed, if not for anything, for the sake of your health. But Ogaga,
Different strokes for different.
you asked
folks.
how I was doing. The
Yeah.
weather is cold.
Yes,
It is cold and it's affecting me.
Oh, so sorry about that.
Thank you.
One of the popular things I like saying, this is weather for tea.
Tea.
If you're not married.
You're there, tea.
Yeah, but
And
if
you're
you're
doing
married,
it,
like a cameraman behind the camera,
you need
we're
support.
we're just having a conversation, and only the thought of her husband, she was
dancing.
dancing. You could just see how excited
She's excited.
She's
smiling.
Yeah, people like Perpetua, you just think of tea, but
Exactly, tea and my duvet.
you're
and
not as excited as Eunice was
tea,
interested.
duvet,
So there's a
and
difference
good
between
movie.
tea and an actual human companion.
I'll put a pen on that. I would not respond to you.
All right, so it's the rainy season. Incidentally, I have a friend that a lady too. She tells me that the rainy season is her best season.
What?
Yes, she says during the rainy season she glows.
Yeah, actually,
Like,
it's good for the skin. Yeah.
her skin, she begins to
The,
glow.
when the weather is cold, it's good for your skin. Like you glow, you look beautiful, and there's this glow. But apart from that, ain't good.
Okay, so today there are a couple of international celebrations,
Right.
and there is the World Drowning Prevention Day. Now, according to the United Nations, every year an estimated 236,000 people drown, making drowning a major public health problem worldwide. Now, drowning is one of the leading causes of death globally for children and young people aged 1 to 24. Drowning is the third leading cause of unintentional injury death, accounting for 7% of all injury-related deaths. Now, Professor, can you swim?
Yes. Can I swim?
Yes.
No, I can't. No, sorry, I didn't get you. No, I had a swimming lesson once or twice, but then I gave up. I just
How old
found
are
that
you when you?
I was with someone was assisting me, and
I
then
said, how old are you? Is it recently?
about 3-4 years ago. Then there was something they put over me. They said it was going to help
Is
me.
it the
I don't
safety
know.
jacket or the float?
The floating stuff, and they said it was going to help me, but I was scared. The second time, which was like last year, a female helped me, a friend of mine. We went somewhere and she said, you know what, I'm going to teach you how to swim. So I learned a lot, like I could steady myself on the water, but to be an expert swimmer, I'm not there. I'm not there yet.
Can I tell you something?
What?
Don't tell anybody.
Okay, listen.
I've never been into the pool of water.
Why? Are you scared?
No. Incidentally, I think while I was in secondary school, that's the closest I came to. And when my classmates back then
Yeah.
would go and swim. I wanted to go for some reasons. I didn't go. I'm not. I don't have phobia for water. As a matter of fact, I look forward to it. But somehow, anytime I think of swimming, something just comes up or whatsoever. So I don't know. But you know that funny thing is that somewhere in my head, I believe that if I get into water, I can swim. I'm serious, no jokes. I feel like it's just.
I like that confidence. Like your type, it's not going to be difficult for you to learn how to swim. I think the obstacle I have, like with learning how to swim, is like when I see the water, be it a pool or anything, and then I just get scared.
Oh, you have the phobia?
Yeah, I have a phobia, but I have to be with someone I'm very, very comfortable with. Like my friend that day that was trying to teach me. Like if you're just some random person and you're like, come into the water, it won't. I will be like, are you serious?
You go to the shallow part.
Nah, I'll pass.
Okay, so I'll just drop this if I talk about the second observance for today internationally. I don't know if did you grow up watching wrestling?
Oh yeah, I did. I still love wrestling till tomorrow.
Interesting.
I am a huge fan.
So you must know Hulk Hogan.
I do know him, and yeah, I got the news yesterday. Yeah.
He passed on at the age of 71, and according to reports, he was a cardiac arrest.
Oh.
Yeah, so may his soul rest in peace, and our condolences we extend to his family and friends and close associates. I remember growing up that time when you see him, when he gets activated and his morale side, you'll be shaking, yes.
You're not yes.
Yes, like you hit him.
You know him.
You'll be vibrating, like, man. I remember growing up back then, I used to be very interested in wrestling.
But you're no longer interested now.
When I found out that he was acting.
No, most is acting, some are not actually.
Yeah,
So I think I'm more invested in the no disqualification matches, cage matches, those ones that you fight till you're exhausted. Like that's my genre actually.
So
Yeah.
you can watch someone using chair to hit somebody else and scraping their face on the
I love
cage.
horror movies actually, so I can do that.
Sure. Have you tried watching boxing?
No, I don't like boxing actually. It's not something I enjoyed right from when I was
How
small.
about UFC?
No. Boxing, UFC, and then football. If I try to watch any of these three, I just fall asleep while watching it. I don't know why. Like
Interesting.
it doesn't work for me. I just fall asleep.
Okay, so today happens to also be International Day on Judicial Well-being.
Right.
Now, justice begins with well-being, and I love the way the UN captured it. It said corruption thrives where integrity falters. Now, talking about the judiciary, let's bring it back home here to Nigeria and x-ray the situation of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, where I think Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court ruled on some things having to do with contempt of court for the senator representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, and contempt of court because there was a time they were told during the saga between her and the president of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, they were told that they should not grant interview to the media and they should not put out any media statement whatsoever. And she put out that satirical apology in quotes, and the court deemed that contempt, and she was fined 5 million naira and all of that. Then also, the judge also expressed her opinion, stating that the rules of the Senate should be considered. The Senate should consider their rules that because and consider the extension for the duration, the period of which a sitting senator can be suspended, because 6 months is a lengthy time, because somebody needs to. The person was voted to represent the constituent, so you cannot deprive the person of that right that they have by virtue of the vote of the electorate and all of that. So, but having stated those things clearly, she now gave an opinion that I'm paraphrasing now because I'm not with the city signature, quoted her verbatim, that the Senate should reconsider and all of that. So now, after that ruling and all of that, Senator Natasha said she was going to resume, but she was advised not to resume until the CTC the certified true copy of the judgment was out, and she waited. When it came out, then she said she was going to resume. But even the Senate, they asked her not to resume. That because what the judge did was giving an opinion, not an actual order that the Senate should call her back. Now, we've had the likes of Femi Falana, SAN, saying that, and also Natasha was quoting a part of the Constitution that says anything that emanates from the court, be it an opinion or whatsoever, all forms a decision, that a judgment that should be adhered to, and all of that. But there have also been different arguments that when it came to an actual ruling and order in the CTC, it was stated like the contempt for court and the fine. The judge accurately stated that, but when it came to this, it was not an order, it was an opinion. So we saw Senator Apotu Igbanga visit the national, or go to the National Assembly on Tuesday, and initially at the first gate, he said she was blocked. Then she came down from her vehicle and walked in. But at the second gate, she was also hindered and all of that. Long story short, she was not permitted into the Senate, into the House. And yesterday, again, Premium Times reported that she was about to travel out with her husband for her stepson's graduation, and she was halted at the airport. That's allegedly that the National Assembly said that she's a flight risk. So, but after making some calls, and she was delayed for about an hour thereabout, according to the report by Premium Times, she was eventually allowed to board the flight. But when you see all of this, what do you have to say about the judicial system and the ambiguity with rulings now? It's because it's as though, even in a situation of like when you consider the Labour Party and what's happening on there concerning the leadership, it's as though of recent some of the judgments that have been passed by the court
seem to be like opinions.
Yes, and it's controversial. So the same judgment, if maybe I was the one that took you to court, the same judgment, I can interpret it to favor me, you can interpret it to favor you. So what do you have to say about that and the judiciary now? Because now there's now more call for the judiciary to be more clear and distinct to avoid such controversies.
I think if there's one thing that the judiciary is known for right from time is clarity, most especially when it comes to decision making or judgment. So this ambiguity, let me begin with Senator Natasha's case. First off, this case has lasted, it started since February. Like, this is about...
And the National Assembly, they're going on recess. So
they are going on
2
recess. So 2 months. Like, it's going to... If case
so
not taking this case...
When they resume now, she would have served the 6 months. Completely.
It started in February. Okay, we are as good as we're in August, because this is July and August is next week. So this is like about 5 months. Like, I feel like the judiciary should give attention to cases that truly matters in the country. I'm not saying this does not matter, but this is something that should have been sorted in weeks or at most a month. Why are we dragging the issue? Now, cumulatively, they said even if opinions, verdicts given by the judiciary comes up as opinions, cumulatively, these opinions serve as judgment. What is stopping the Senate House from allowing her to gain access to the Senate building? Bearing in mind that she's not coming there to represent herself. She's coming there to represent Kogi North Central, if I'm not making a mistake. She's coming there to represent them. What is stopping them from giving her access? She has served the time. She was given, she paid, I think, bill of how many billion of naira, contempt of court, all of that. She appeared in court. What is stopping them from giving her access? And again, she wanted to travel for her son's graduation. I feel it's a lot.
Like a witch hunt.
I feel this is an attention diversion. I don't know what to call it. We should begin to concentrate on things that truly needs concentration, like high cost of living, survival, a whole lot of things. This is something that should have been sorted within a month. She has done what needs to be done. Give her access to the seat.
So there's the argument of separation of power.
Okay, which
now,
is?
There is the legislature, there is the judiciary. Now, the legislature, they have their rules. So they are saying the judiciary cannot come and tell them how to handle disciplinary matters within the ambience of the
If
legislature.
you don't want the judiciary to handle legislative matters within the ambience of legislature, why did you sue her to court in the first place?
Okay, it was Natasha. I think it was who instigated. I think it was Natasha that yes that. So this.
If you don't want their interference, why did you honor the court?
Yes, it was Natasha that. It was Natasha that sued
Yes,
the Senate or the Senate after the 6 months. That it
Okay,
was.
fine. Even if Natasha sued, if you know you don't want the interference of the judiciary, then you wouldn't have honored their invitation.
No, as long as that
I feel
there was a Senate committee on ethics and
right.
privileges that was
Ogaga,
looking into
I'm
this
trying
matter.
to say that they are making this bigger than it seems. It's very, very simple. They should sort it out.
You think an allegation starting from the suspension, so will you say Natasha is making it big, or will you say the Senate president who was accused of sexual harassment is making
First
it big?
off, under investigation, he shouldn't even keep functioning as the Senate
This
president.
is Nigeria.
Okay, fine, but this is Nigeria. But even under investigation, he shouldn't even function normally
Should have stepped
till
aside.
investigation is done. Now, if he had stepped aside, let's be honest, we need to flip this coin. If he had stepped aside, would this case have lingered till this
Which
period?
question?
Eh?
Which question?
All right, if he had stepped aside, I'm not sure this case would have even taken like 2 weeks. It would have been sorted. She has gone to court. Everything has been done. Let her breathe. Let her represent her people. And let us focus on things that truly matters in the country, things that needs urgent attention.
So on International Day on Judicial Wellbeing, judges and other judicial officers such as magistrate, court commissioners, arbitrators, shoulder a profound responsibility upholding the rule of law, protecting rights, and ensuring that justice is impartial and fair. But behind the bench, many judges struggle in silence. Long hours, isolation, and the emotional toll of decision making can affect their well-being, ultimately influencing the quality of justice. Now, there is what is called the Nauru Declaration on Judicial Well-being, which recognizes that the health and well-being of judges is critical to ensuring judicial integrity, independence, and the quality of justice delivered to the public. Now, there are 7 guiding principles that the United Nations put out. Now, number 1, judicial well-being is fundamental. Judicial well-being is essential to ensuring a fair and effective justice system.
Right.
Without it, judicial independence and public trust are at risk. Yes, I totally agree. Because and that's where the part of where you can see that there are allegations and there have been reports that some judges are influenced. And that's why you see when it comes to separation, and that's why over the judiciary, remember we've had an interview, and I think we'll bring part of it up here, where we've gotten to debate the independence of the judiciary, just like we're talking about the separation of power, because we see that the judiciary, they are not truly independent because the executive still pays the judiciary.
Right.
So imagine a situation where maybe any office holder or just the ordinary Nigerian is suing someone in the executive. So it's like suing your employer, the person that pays you.
No autonomy.
So that's it. And number 2, guiding principle is that stigma must be removed. Judicial stress and mental health challenges should be openly acknowledged. Experiencing such difficulties does not reflect weakness or lack of fitness to serve. So this is going out to everybody that finds themselves in the judicial arm of government. Then shared responsibility, learn to share your responsibility. Culture matters. A supportive and inclusive judicial culture is necessary. Institutions must foster ethical environments that prioritize well-being. Then it goes on. There are quite a number of them. So, talking about what do you think about judicial system here? Do you think that those persons under the judicial arm of government, they are properly catered for? Not just the judges now, not just the magistrates, the clerk.
Okay.
That's that person. Because I've seen, I saw a video, I think, was it early this year or thereabout, where somebody went to the court, and they were supposed to get a document, and the clerk was asking them to bring money to pay. I think they were having a squabble and a fight. So sometimes it's just like when we talk about the police also. So do you think that the judicial officials are properly catered for in Nigeria?
Okay,
Because we're talking about their well-being.
yeah, the judiciary system in this country is quite complex. First off, it's a lot. It's just like something at the middle, and then it's interconnected. Has this branch, has that branch, has that branch, and they're all connected. And it's like you have to look at the bigger picture. But in all of that, I want to look at the International Day for the Judicial Well-being of the well-being of the judiciary. Yes, the government needs to do a lot better in catering for these people. But above the government, catering to these people that work in the arm of the judiciary, I feel today is also a day of introspection for everybody who works in the judiciary, the clerk, the lawyers, the judges, all of them. What are you doing to ensure that justice, not just any justice, good justice, takes course, when executing your duty, when carrying out your duty as a lawyer, as a chief judge, as a magistrate. Today is a day of introspection because there's been lots of things, that happened in the judicial system of government. It's been a whole lot. So today is just a day of introspection, while the government should, do better in taking care of those people in terms of pay, if it can be increased, and allowances, all of that. It will ensure that they function better.
Yes,
and if you know that you are not functioning better, in as much as there is lots of allowances and pay, it questions your greed. So the government has to do a lot in ensuring that these people are comfortable and well taken care of, bearing in mind that they are humans. They've got their own personal issues, while they have to function well at the job, so they need to be taken care of adequately.
Okay, so just a few statistics to portray the points I want to drive from them. I looked at that. 76%, according to a 2021 survey by the Global Judicial Integrity Network, 76% of judges say they lack enough time to care for their physical and mental health.
Right.
92% experience stress from judicial work at least sometimes, frequently or always. 89% are aware of colleagues facing stress or anxiety. So the statistics goes on. But mine, it perpetually has come from the angle of introspection by judicial officials and also government catering to their needs. I also want to speak to you as a judicial official, whether you're a clerk, a lawyer, a judge, magistrate, anywhere you fall into. Look after your mental health. That's true. Don't overstress yourself, because we need you in the right frame of mind to carry out your duties correctly and promptly. So please watch over yourself. When you know that you need to rest, please try to get some rest, because the truth about, especially those the lawyers, magistrate, judges, is that so there is like an academic career. They are always reading, writing, doing stuff and all of that. So it's a lot, and it takes a lot of brain work to do that. So, and there's a point where your body needs rest. So know that point and get it. And superior officers there, if a subordinate comes to you and talks to you about this and that, please try to find a way to give them time off to sort themselves and all of that. And here in Nigeria, but it's now becoming something that is needed. Back then they say Africans, mental health.
But can we just take out time, like apart from the judiciary, is it out of place for us to take out time and when you're asked twice, because I think I need to rest and my battery is running on low?
No, of course.
Is it out of place?
Yes, but
like apart from when a period when you have like your stipulated time to go on your like yearly breaks, is it out of place? Like in a particular time you say, ma'am, I really need to be out of work this week, and when you're asked why, you be like, my battery is running on low and I feel like I will break down mentally anytime soon. Well, like, is it something actually?
Context applies, yes. If your boss knows you are someone that is very hardworking,
efficient,
yes, and you are not someone that is evasive of work and all of that,
right.
If you come up with that, I think an understanding boss should consider that.
Also,
if that is not considered, how humans can be. Some persons can start to abuse it.
Key into it.
Yes, they start
even
abusing it.
when
I'm
they don't
just
need
tired.
it.
I'm just tired. So I think there should be a balance.
A
Now, still on
moderation.
the judiciary, we'll be bringing you an interview, Judicial Accountability and Reform, analyzing Nigeria's Supreme Court controversies. Is a recorded interview. We had as guests Barrister Faith Adrebo and Barrister Precious Wande Muya. So let's go take a listen and enjoy the interview while we get knowledge as well. In this segment, we are honored to have Barrister Precious Wande Muya, a distinguished legal professional and former chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) Asaba branch, a doctoral research candidate at the University of Benin. Barrister Wande Muya brings a wealth of academic and expertise in public and constitutional laws, commercial law, and legal reforms. With extensive experience at Nord attorneys and solicitors, he has been actively involved in shaping legal discourse within the Nigerian legal community. His influence extends beyond courtrooms and academia. He is a well-known legal educator and public advocate, regularly enlightening the public on legal rights through Know Your Rights, a popular legal awareness program on Voice of Delta Radio. As a dedicated legal mind with a strong presence in professional circles, including his active engagement with the NBA Asaba branch, Barrister Wande Muya is deeply committed to justice, legal advocacy, and reforms that strengthen Nigeria's judiciary. Today, he joins us to provide expert analysis on judicial accountability and reform, dissecting recent Supreme Court rulings and their broader implications for Nigeria's legal system.
Also joining us on the program today is a distinguished legal expert, Barrister Favor Ajwebo, the principal partner of FN Ajwebo and Associates, a reputable firm specializing in corporate, property, and litigation law. Based in Asaba, he serves as the external solicitor for Oshimili South Local Government Council, providing legal guidance on governance and policy matters. A seasoned legal practitioner and strategic thinker, Barrister Ajwebo is a senior member of the Chartered Institute of Public Diplomacy and Management, where he contributes to shaping public policy and governance strategies. Beyond his legal expertise, he is a renowned human rights activist, passionately advocating for justice, fairness, and legal reforms in Nigeria. His deep insight and constructive analysis makes him a respected voice in legal discourse and governance. With a wealth of experience in litigation, corporate law, and public policy, Barrister Ajwebo brings a unique perspective to today's discussion on judicial accountability and reform, offering expert analysis on the recent Supreme Court rulings and their implications for Nigeria's legal system. We are honored to have him with us. Welcome to the program, Barrister Ajwebo.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning to you both. It's a delight to have you on the show. And today we'll be considering the topic judicial accountability and reform, analyzing Nigeria's Supreme Court controversies. It's very sad that when we are talking about the highest court in the land, we are also using the word controversies because this is how Nigerians have seen it. And that's why you two are here to set the record straight and right if indeed there has been controversies in some of the rulings or it's just because it's laymen interpreting it as controversies. Now, my first question would be to you, Barrister Wande Muya. Is the judiciary in Nigeria really independent? Because this is one aspect that Nigerians have been saying that no, we don't have a judiciary. Because there's this saying that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. But people said the judiciary is no more the last hope of the common man. After the last election, when the case went to the tribunal talking about the presidential election, there was this hashtag, eyes on the judiciary. That's to tell you the distrust that Nigerians now have in the judiciary. So, as someone in that arm of government, and as you experienced a former NBA chairman of Asaba branch, now, do you think the judiciary is truly independent? Truly, emphasis on truly.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here this morning to join in this conversation. And it's really important that the public begins to engage, because it's one of the pillars that makes a governance to work in any country, and that's the role of the public in holding their systems and their institutions accountable. And so it's a welcome development that we are discussing this, helped by the democratization of information. So unlike before now, where the Supreme Court will give a decision and we can only find everything about it in the law books and in the case laws, most times they are out there in the public before we know it, before we actually even read what they actually said. So yes, sometimes the people misinterpret what they hear, or even give slants to the decisions of the court with a bias in mind. So talking about the accountability, the independence of the judiciary, I don't think any system can, or any institution under the democracy that we operate, the presidential system of democracy that we operate, can truly be independent in the sense of the word independent. Yes, they can have autonomy, but to say independent, why? Because they depend on the executive and they depend on the legislature for some things, and that's where the doctrine of checks and balance comes in. So they cannot be divorced from the entire system of the governance structure in Nigeria. So, but if we talk about autonomy, are they autonomous in taking their decisions? Do they take their decisions independently of interferences from other arms of government or from people? Don't forget that there are people, the Supreme Court or even the judiciary are peopled by human beings, and these human beings have interactions with the public, they have interactions with members of the other arms of government, they have interactions with their neighbors, with their church member, with the society in general, at one level or the other. So there are structures put in place to limit those interactions. For instance, we have the code of conduct for judicial officers that sets parameters that limits the level of their interaction with the society at large. So but it cannot entirely obliterate that interaction. And so in the course of these interactions, you can expect that there will be some form of interference or the other. For instance, a legislator, a senator in the National Assembly once stood up in the House and said that I want to thank my wife for allowing me interfere. Yes, for allowing me interfere. Although it was later denied or they tried to explain it, but the truth is that comment had been made. Why? So the judge is somebody's husband or somebody's wife, and so that person who closely stays with her that must have a way, in one way or the other, interact with respect to what is happening in the courtroom. So it now lies on the judge to obey the limitations put in place by the code of conduct for judicial officers. So that's, to that extent, I will not say that the judiciary is independent, if you want to use the word in the strict sense.
Is it truly autonomous? It can be influenced, because
the possibility is to influence them is there, but the decision to remain uninfluenced lies with the judge.
So when you, now that you've asserted and on the same page, we agree that judges can be influenced. Now, what punitive measures does the NBA take, or even the judiciary in itself take, when a situation of interference or bias has been established? Because we hardly see such situations. Like you stated now with this former senator, Okachua. The case was just swept under the carpet. because the wife was actually the former president of the Court of Appeal.
Yeah. So, in response to the Bukachua case directly, Bukachua was no longer a judge as at the time that I think she had retired, as at the time that resignation was made by the husband, and so the body that the constitution set up to look into misconduct allegations against judges is the NJC. That body did not have jurisdiction over her anymore. Okay, so but nothing could have stopped any citizen of the country or anybody who has a public interest in mind to have taken it up as a case, to report it to the police or to report it to relevant security agencies to take up it as to take it up as a case against him, for him to prove that allegation or for him to explain further what he meant, because that singular word uttered by that man, ran through a lot of cases. Maybe the cases of all the members who were sitting in that house, maybe some of them, their cases appeared, so the cases could have been investigated, to see to what extent did the influence of the man affect the outcome of those decisions.
So the NJC didn't have jurisdiction to investigate those cases? No, not the lady now, just the cases.
The job of the NJC is to investigate human beings, not cases. All right, so anybody could have, maybe for instance, maybe the matter had not been exhausted on appeal, so you could have gone to court to say my case suffered because of the action of Bukachua, or you can even make a case to you can even take up a case to the police to say, because of the allegation of corruption that had been admitted by the husband, I failed in this case, and you are able to establish that it was because the husband influenced her. That was why the outcome of that decision was like this. So the onus of proof will still be on you. So to prove that it was interference of the husband that affected your case, and that is why it turned out against you. So, but the NJC will not investigate the cases. No, the job of the NJC is to look into the misconduct of judicial officers. The role was created for them by the Constitution of Federal Court for Control.
Okay, so Barrister Ajuebo, what is the impact of public trust when it comes to legal proceedings in the judiciary, and how can the judiciary help to maintain the trust that the public have on them? Because there are some rulings that comes out and people are not okay with it, and they said judiciary, like Ugaga said, is the hope of the common man, but with the rulings and the proceedings and the outcomes, many people are tending to feel like judiciary is not the hope of the common man, the last hope rather of the common man. So what is your take on that?
Now, it is very important for people to understand that when judgments are given and it comes to the general public, sometimes we lawyers are more particular about what is being litigated before the court. What are the processes that we file? What are the facts that are contained in that process? Because sometimes a matter may seem it may attract public arousal and emotions to the extent that if you are not fully abreast with the facts that is litigated before court, you may misconstrue the essence of a judgment. So sometimes, we've always said it before, social media is not a court. Public issue is not a court. Court deals with facts and how those facts are being established. All these things put together will now determine the outcome of courts. Now, coming to public trust, I can assure you that in the time past, there have been several judgments that appealed to the general public. There are so many judgments that actually achieved that. So, can we not say that because a judgment appealed to the general public, that there's no more trust in judiciary, and because thereafter they now dissented, that there's no longer trust? So it all depends on what is before court. Now, I can agree with you to the extent that the court can dissent on earlier decisions. And that is why initially we were told that the Supreme Court is infallible because they are final. But sometimes they also review their judgments. So they also made us to understand that they are fallible, but they are final. So that means they can review their judgments, they can dissent from earlier decision. So it depends on what is litigated before courts. That will now determine how courts will treat issues before them. So when we talk about trust is dependent on what is before courts. I agree with you that there can be influence, there can be all manner of digressions, there can be interruptions. Yes, quite all right. It depends on the situation on ground, but the effective and efficient judicial function is dependent on what is placed, on the material fact that is placed before court, and not what is before the general public.
Okay, so above facts now that is placed before the public.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to seemingly controversial issues,
Yes.
now what are the roles that the court play in ensuring that above the final proceedings and the final judgment, we tell the public that this is what we've done, this is how we've done it to arrive at this?
Yes.
Because there are sometimes that there are some rulings that the court have the final say on, and when it comes out, people are not comfortable with it. So what modalities have the judiciary put in place to sensitize the public on these issues and make them be abreast of current situations as placed in the court before arriving at these outcomes?
Okay, I can tell you for free that anytime judgment is given, of course, that judgment is being furnished to the general public, either by way of law reports and through every other means. You can also apply for the judgment. It becomes a public document, so you are entitled to, by virtue of the freedom of information, and to apply for any public document. It's certified to copy, and it will be furnished to you. And every reason, the Supreme Court doesn't just give a decision, or any other court doesn't just give a decision without giving you the reasons upon which that decision was arrived at. So you will be furnished a document or a copy of that judgment for you to know the basis upon which that decision was taken. So one part of what judiciary does is to furnish it before general public. You can look at it and see the reasons why such decision was taken. I think that is part of what judiciary does. Sometimes we too can come to the public, we legal analysts can come to the public and say, this is the reason for their judgment, or this is what we feel. Or if there is an aberration, we can say this is our own opinion. So if the matter is being done at the trial court, we have the opportunity to vent it at the appellate court. But when it is finally decided upon, we take it as our fate, because that is the final.
Okay.
That is the final.
So you made a statement, Barrister Trevor, that the Supreme Court verdict can be reviewed.
Yes, it can.
So what do you mean by review? Do you mean that, for example, if they had initially said that somebody was guilty, they can retrieve that and say the person is not guilty?
It's possible.
And on what grounds?
It's possible.
So in what situations do they review their judgments?
Now, judicial review have its own procedure. It has its own format, and it has its own application. So when for instance, now let's take the case of P2B. The case of Imo State, governorship tribunal. For instance, after a decision was given in favor of Corpus of Demo, there was a judicial review, and one of the justices of the Supreme Court gave his own opinion to the extent that he agreed with the application for a review. But his opinion is just one among others. So if other persons had told his direction, of course, that decision will be set aside. The earlier decision will be set aside. So, of course, if a judgment is given at the Supreme Court, we have what constitutes the panel of justices at the Supreme Court is 5 and above, sometimes 7. So if 4 or 3 to 5 is going towards another direction, and 2 is going, of course, the 3 we stay true. So what we're saying is, when a judicial review is being brought to the table, of course, if the justices told towards that direction, more number of justices told towards the direction upon which the review is brought before court, of course, it will say true, and the other decision will be set aside.
Okay, let me just.
Sorry, and also the justices the justices that review the case, are they that do the review? Is it the same justices that sat over the case in the Supreme Court?
That's an internal administrative judicial function.
Okay, so let me just comment on this issue so that we don't get it wrongly. Judicial review is a technical term, all right, in the sense that the courts have a review. Have the have the jurisdiction to review administrative actions of other arms of government. All right, so that's in the technical sense. Then in the sense in which you are using it, it means maybe looking at a decision that was taken by a court. So for instance, the High Court has appellate jurisdiction to look into decisions that proceed from magistrate courts, which are the lowest courts. They have jurisdiction to look at decisions that emanate from the customary courts. All right, so to that extent, they can review the decisions of the courts under them. Now, the Court of Appeal is a higher level of court with powers to look into decisions that emanate from the High Court. Okay. Now, the final court in the land is the Supreme Court, the apex court, and it has the powers to look into decisions that come from the Court of Appeal. So, if you bring a complaint from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court can look at it. So, like you mentioned earlier, the Supreme Court is the final court, is the final arbiter in all cases, and beyond that, you can only take your case to God. All right. So, there's no other place to go to ventilate your disaffection with the decision of the Supreme Court. However, under the slip rule, there's what we call the slip rule, where a decision is given, and then instead of saying yes, the Supreme Court wrote no in the decision. If you look at the analysis of what he said, the answer they are not supposed to give at the end is yes. They now wrote no there, maybe by typographical, and you believe it's typographical error. If you read it, you will know that there's something disjunctive. Yeah, exactly. So you can come back to the Supreme Court to ask that they should look into that and correct that slip or correct that error. So to that extent, they can correct themselves. But to correct the judgment and to tell them to look at the judgment again, that they were wrong in their analysis or in their decision, that they will slam you with cost. For instance, Afe Babalola and Oladipo were slammed with cost at a certain time and they were told that they were going to pay it individually. I think 30 million naira each, for bringing such an application before them, because you are telling them to change their decision, and that's more like challenging the authority of the Supreme Court. So that is not allowed in law.
So, Barrister Precious, looking at the Rivers State legislative crisis and the judicial intervention, this is something that's been going on for a while, and if not taken care of, if the thing escalates, it's going to be a big problem, and more people are going to be involved in it. So, what role do you think that the Supreme Court should play in mitigating all of this and bringing peace? And the second question is, did the court's intervention in the Rivers State legislative crisis, did they set a useful precedent in the first place?
Now, the joy I have in all of this, of what is happening in Rivers State, is that it displays the what do you call it now? The extent of the independence of the three arms of government. What I mean to say is that it is possible, all right, for the three arms of government in any state or in the country to be truly independent in the sense of our political situation, where most of our houses of assembly are yes men to the governors. So if not for the person of Wike that is in one corner that everybody is looking at, all right, I'm sure that Nigerians would have been happy at what is happening in Rivers State to say that, oh yes, the House of Assembly is able to stand up to the governor, because most times we are not happy with the way our houses of assembly are run. They are essentially, in most states, are essentially yes men to the whims and caprices of the governor. So, but in Rivers State, the House of Assembly is standing up to the governor. The only problem we have with it is that it's somebody that is swelling it. Otherwise, I'm sure you would have been happy that, oh, thank God we have seen the House of Assembly that can stand up to the governor and that can challenge the governor. All right, because in the true sense of what is happening in Rivers State, it's a political situation that should have been solved politically, but unfortunately the court was dragged into it. Okay, the court was dragged into it, and the court is a court that does not operate on sentiments. They operate on hard facts. they operate on things that are brought before it at that point in time. For instance, one of the major issues they decided in the Rivers State case was whether the governor can start spending state money without presenting it for appropriation before the House of Assembly. All right. If not for Wike, let's remove Wike from the picture. If not for Wike that is somewhere hiding, I mean, like a big brother hiding somewhere, I am sure that your answer will be that it is not correct. The governor cannot go and be spending money without presenting it to a House of Assembly. That's one aspect. The second aspect is it correct for the governor to present the appropriation bill to a four-man House of Assembly? Is it possible that if 4 people can constitute a House of Assembly? It's not possible by any means that 4 people or 3 people, as some persons say, can constitute a state House of Assembly as against 27 persons. You know, so these are hard facts on which the judiciary decided its matter. The Wike's interference was not a fact before the courts, and so it could not construe it into it.
But how do you think that the ruling of the Supreme Court concerning this matter will influence the legislative impact on Nigerians, and then how Nigerians will now begin to view the judicial system?
Yeah, so I am hoping that our legislatures in other states where they are not having somebody controlling them, because it seems as if somebody must control them. So since the governor is not controlling them, somebody else is the one control. They should know that the Constitution has safeguards. You know, what the Supreme Court decision has done now is to tell us that there are constitutional safeguards that preserves you. So if you stand up to the governor, don't be afraid that the governor will remove you or will recall you, or I don't know what they are even afraid of, or will deny you your funds, because you have your own powers. You know, that is what the Supreme Court decision has just shown now, that the legislature has its own powers aside the powers of the governor. So but everybody believes, we tend to believe that the governor is omnipotent and he has all the powers, and so everybody must defer to it, even including the judiciary that we are talking about now. They are afraid, whereas they can actually exercise their powers. In this country, the judiciary has removed governors. Judges have removed sitting governors from office. So I don't know why all the other arms of government are afraid to exercise their constitutional functions to the fullest. Without the interference of the executive arm. They all defer to the executive arm. They keep saying, the governor is powerful, the money is in his hand, everything is. So, but what the Supreme Court decision has shown us is that the governor is not that all powerful as we used to think about it. You know, the judiciary has its role under the Constitution. The legislature has its role under the Constitution, and they have checks and balance against each other. So the fear the governor is having now is the fear of impeachment. All right, and because that is the power of the legislature, the legislature has against him, but they don't exercise it because they are afraid. So, but because he knows that they have that power, and the judiciary has restored that hope to them, the governor now is wanting to even talk with them, which is what is supposed to happen. That's why I said that initially this thing is supposed to be a political situation, solution. They're supposed to seek mean to resolve it, and not a judicial one.
Okay, in as much as I have a lot to say about this human rights issue, because of time, let's talk about something else that's pressing for me: self-defense. Now, in recent days, a case came to the fore, and that's the case of self-defense of a farmer by the name Sunday Jackson, and a verdict was given recently, early March, I think March 7th, thereabouts, where a case that happened in 2015, almost a decade ago, so it was alleged that a Fulani herdsman attacked him in his farm, and as self-defense, he was able to overpower this herdsman that attacked him, and even injured him, stabbed him, and he killed the man. And now a verdict has been passed that he has been sentenced. That's Jackson now, the farmer who killed the Fulani herdsman in self-defense, sentenced to death. What do you have to say? Can you just enlighten us a little on what the law says on self-defense, and what could be the reason that the court ruled in favor of the Fulani herdsman and sentenced Jackson was defending himself to death, Barrister Agbebu?
All right. When it comes to self-defense, first of all, it's good to clear it before the general public that self-defense is a case to answer. So automatically,
It is a case to
it's
answer.
a case to answer. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you allege, you bring in a defense of self-defense in any criminal allegation, it is automatically a case to answer. That means you should come and tell the court how you defended yourself in the course of the self-action. So that is one. So people shouldn't see it as a total exoneration from trial. Then going to your question. Now, self-defense is such that your self-defense must commensurate with the action that is putting you in fear of death. For instance, someone wants to use a stick or an object to attack you, and you use a gun to bring him down. It does not commensurate.
So somebody can only stick or gun to
Really?
kill me.
No, you can't. So the two objects.
But someone
must
can club
commensurate.
somebody to death.
It's a stick.
Do you have an escape route? If you have an option to escape, and you forget about the option of escaping from the scene, you now decide to.
While I'm
use
running,
your-
I can still be clubbed. No, now in this
use your
situation,
arsenal.
this
Yes.
Sunday Jackson was stabbed. It was established that
Yeah,
he was
he
stabbed.
was stabbed, right?
Yes.
So this
I
is
think
somebody
he's laying the general principles.
Yes.
So maybe we should.
Yes.
Like-
Yes. So if you were stabbed, you can as well stab too. You were stabbed in the leg. You can as well stab in the leg, except you allege that you just you couldn't control your
So
defense.
they stab me in my
Yeah.
leg.
So
I have opportunity to stab you. I will stab your leg.
yeah. So it depends
Not
on how.
necessarily, not
It depends on how you
necessarily.
how you allege the situation. So it depends on the facts and how you establish it. You know.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so let me intervene.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, you want to okay. So it depends on how you're able to establish the facts. You know, every issue are unique. That there's a case of self-defense in this in scenario A may be different from the case of self-defense in scenario B. So it depends on the uniqueness and how that fact is being presented before the court. So if you are alleging self-defense, quite all right. It depends on what you say, the circumstances, like I said. If there was an escape route from that place, and you neglect that escape route, you now decided to resort to your strength, or maybe you felt you have a higher strength, and you now activate it and use it to overpower the other person, thereby taking the person's life, then that issue of self-defense will not be given a second thought. So everything depends on what is brought before court and how it's being said, and how the said action took place at the scene of crime.
Wow, this is another
Yes.
Barrister, this is another topic I can go 30 minutes on, but very quickly because
All right, so he has made the point that self-defense does not exonerate you entirely. It can give you manslaughter, make you guilty of manslaughter. Now, for this particular case that we're talking about, the Sonny Jackson case, I had the privilege of speaking with the lawyer who handled the case at the Supreme Court, and what he said is that the decision of the Supreme Court was a split decision. There were five-member panel. 3 supported the case that it was murder. All right, while 2 dissented and said no, that it was self-defense. So, to that extent, there may be reason to believe that some of the facts we have in the public space is true. Why I'm saying that is that the judgment, the certified copy of the judgment, in fact, the full reasoning for that decision has not been released yet. The Supreme Court just gave their general decision on the matter. They have not released the full reasoning, so we've not had the benefit of reading the facts of the case, as it were, to be able to analyze it completely. So, but the fact that is out there in the public, which the person I communicated with shared with me, is that the man was stabbed in the leg, and so the option of running away was not there. All right. So, but I guess that I don't know, but I am thinking that those who decided for murder would have thought that if you could have strength to be able to retaliate to the extent of killing, then it's possible that you still had some strength. Now, in assessing, because what happened is that the court that had the what's the word now? that had the opportunity of assessing the witnesses, because it is not just to hear the stories. You also look at the demeanor. You look at the witnesses who are testifying before you. You look at what they are saying and how they are saying it to assess who is saying the truth or who is saying the lie. The judge was not there. All right, the judges were not there at the scene of the crime, so they can only act on what they are told in court, the facts that are presented to them in court. So the judge had the opportunity of listening to the person and see the demeanor to know whether or not he's saying the truth. So I want to imagine
and that person died of loss of blood. I don't think that person can be guilty of murder. Yes, if the autopsy report says that this person died of hemorrhage, loss of blood as a result of the stabbing, so then at that point the situation may change. But if the stabbing is in a sensitive area such that the person's life was not taken automatically as a result of the sharp object, maybe the shock, of a particular sensitive area, then it becomes a serious, different issue.
Yes. For instance, I was in a career talk recently, and I told them that in law, killing is different from murder.
From murder, yes. Yes. So, killing is different from murder. Because I may hit you, you may hit me, and I hit you, and you fall on the ground. It may not be murder. They will not check the cause of the death. Autopsy may reveal that you died of maybe high blood pressure. Not the fact that I hit you. It may not be assault. It could be high blood pressure. It could be some underlying health illness, that may have resulted to the.
So very quickly, when you see this, because to me this is already a controversy, because I'm feeling somehow somebody stabbed me, irrespective of where the person stabbed me,
and I try to defend myself,
and I feel like it's just
no. The law supports self-defense. Is there? So let's there are no two ways about it. The truth is that this Supreme Court decision has shaken that opportunity
and
to
promote
the
fact that I may have retaliated based on shock or defending myself.
No, he said something. He said something that you must understand. At the trial level, that is why the issues are being subjected to trial. Do you know what is trial? You have the opportunity of examination in chief. You have the opportunity of cross-examination. You have re-examination. So all these things gives us the opportunity to x-ray an issue holistically to be able to arrive. So the judge does what we call evaluation. He does evaluation. The judge looks at you. He looks at your demeanor, according to what he said, your body language. He looks at your expression, and to know whether you are telling.
I would have asked for that question, but if I ask this question, maybe I'll ask it off camera because of time. But let's move quickly to reforms in situations like this. Because honestly, because the certified true copy is not out, one of the things I'd love to do, and I've gone to see it, and also look at the names of the 5 judges and where they come from. Because that's another thing, where they come from. Because now 3-2 is very slim and dicey. So, but when we look at this, and it's also part of the things that fuel the distrust when we hear stories like this. So, what reforms, what can the judiciary, and what is the judiciary doing to win back the trust of the common man?
Yeah, so quickly, I would like to, one area where I am not comfortable with the action of our Supreme Court and is the fact that political cases are given speedy attention to the detriment of other matters. For instance, you just mentioned that Sunday Jackson case started in 2015. All right, whereas, and so it traveled from Supreme Court to Court of Appeal to to Supreme Court in 10 years. And whereas the Constitution says that particularly cases that have to do with the life of a citizen, they have to be given speedy attention. That's what this then in the Constitution. You must be tried within a reasonable time to know your fate, particularly death sentence matters. All right, but a political case, reverse case, just started in 2024, and already it has traveled from High Court to Supreme Court to from High Court to Court of Appeal. It started in July. It was the Federal High Court matter was filed in July last year, and this is we are not even up to July yet. So it's in less than 1 year, the 3 courts have heard the matter, to the detriment of other matters. Why? Because of unnecessary interest to please our politicians. I don't know why they hold so much they have so much stronghold over all assistance and the judiciary. You know, so civil matters, commercial disputes are suffering. If you go to the Supreme Court, if you file a case in the Supreme Court now, be sure that you will not get a date until before they will hear your case, maybe in 2028 or 2032.
So,
you know, so but if it's a political matter that's the one that is obvious to me.
So as displeased as you are, what can you do to create reforms that will change this?
So our courts must begin. The NBA, I'm aware, is already shouting about this. You know, it's already shouting about this, that we can't be giving attention to political cases to the detriment of other matters, particularly other more important matters. What do we have with the politicians that they must hold us ransom? For instance, now, if 2027 election is coming now, before you know that, they will start doing pre-election matters. Once pre-election matters start, all the courts will just abandon their work. Then the next thing will move to the main election litigation. So they are causing other matters to suffer. And so the Supreme Court must begin to extricate itself from the influence of the other arms of government and begin to assert its autonomy in taking its decision. It must stop dancing or wanting to please the politicians, but do their business according to how it is. It is stated by law.
Okay.
So, Barrister,
All right.
Barrister pressure for the general or final ruling on matter. What is the hope of the common man, common farmers particularly? And then, isn't there any perceived fear over headers who have continuously killed farmers, and most of them are not caught concerning this matter? What is the hope of the common man if this comes to be that this man should be sentenced to death at the end of the day?
Well, I am aware that there are some groups that are advocating for clemency, asking the governor of the state to grant him pardon, because he has been convicted, so they are pushing. I know international community is interested in this case because of the religious angle to it. All right, like you mentioned, you want to know the panel. So, the challenge is from the trial court. The trial court convicted him. The Court of Appeal convicted him. So it is the Supreme Court. There's what we call concurrent findings, where the court that heard him said something. The next court said the same thing. The likelihood of the highest court overturning it is difficult. They overturn some of them, but it's a dicey situation. So we must, in our investigation, we must begin from the High Court to know what went wrong, to know what happened. All right. So the common man still has hope. All right. When you want to get a lawyer, ensure you get a seasoned one who will be able to do your matter and lay all the facts, because that's the foundation. You can't start blaming the Supreme Court if there has been a failure to present your case properly at the court, at the lowest court, at the beginning, because that is where your case is made or marred. So the common man still has hope.
So, in your last words, I wish I had more time. So who allocates?
Let me answer it.
You don't have time.
Okay, yes.
So
yes.
is it the executive or not?
Of course, it's appropriation. Everything is being appropriated.
Okay.
So their payment is infused into appropriation.
So do you think a reform should come in that light? Because there's the saying, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So do you think that should be another angle of reform?
Judicial reform is a subject of legislative or legal framework. So for you to have a judicial reform, there must be a legislative or a legal framework. And this legal framework also flows from other arms of government, not just judicial.
That's why I said
judiciary acts
to say independence
on what is being given to them. Yeah. There's an enablement. There's what law is what empowers judiciary.
But people can sponsor a bill now to that effect.
Yes. Where will the money come from? It will come from government.
So NBA.
To be so
something. There must be a law for judiciary to interpret. Judiciary cannot just start interpreting what is not. You can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. So there must be something that is placed before them, both law and both facts. So what judiciary does is they marry law and facts
So the
Yes,
angle of
present it
reform
to
I'm
the
talking about, to put it in context,
Yes.
we've seen even governors give out build houses, ministers build houses, apartments for
No,
It's appropriation.
give cars
It's
and all
by
that.
It's appropriation,
So
yes.
can
Yes,
is there
it's by
a
appropriation.
way, because this now makes individuals feel like this also blinds.
No, the executive builds the court. Judiciary does not
So-
build the
So the truth is that
It is
So no
the executive
reform in that
hand,
light.
yes. It's
the
executive
truth
hand
is that
builds the
the
court.
truth is that
Yes.
the executive, the money does not belong to the executive. The money belongs to the country, but
The controls.
they do it in such a way as if they are dashing the judiciary,
Judiciary.
whereas it is not true.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking for reforms in that area.
Yes,
that
so,
the common man
so
can
we are complaining
understand.
about it, and
Yes.
we are also talking to the judges to stop agreeing to be served in that manner. For instance, you bought a car. Did you buy it with your money? You will now come to the public in front. Even you, pressmen, stop coming to show it on camera.
If you don't go, we will not cover it. We also
Don't cover it. You are the ones
And
enabling
also,
it.
it's
We are
it's
all
also
guilty.
good. It's also good. We
Stop
know this.
covering it. The
And
money
then-
belongs to government. The judiciary you are talking about is also part of the government. It's just that it's not the one that generated the money. There's a body that gathers all the money.
But see, let me also say something.
Wrap up your last
Yes,
bit in this
Nigeria is good in paper, but the problem is its implementation. Although we have a faulty ground law, yes, our constitution is flawed. However, we still have some good legislative or paper framework in a way that Nigeria would have been better. But implementation is the problem. So no matter how we come up with reforms and policies, if implementation is poor, you can do little or nothing about it.
Yes, thank you very
Thank
much,
you so
Barrister
much.
Adwebo
Thank
and
you.
Barrister Wandi Muya. It has been, I said it before it started that it was going to be explosive.
Very
I
explosive.
bet you we can go 3 hours on these judicial issues.
This is so
Thank you
broad.
very much for sharing your knowledge with us and educating the public. Perpetual.
It's the weekend. Just take our time to relax. Monday will soon be here before you know it. So just take
The Nigeria Broadcasting Awards (TMBA) is back for its second edition. Are you the voice behind the mic, the face on the screen, or the producer of that story that moves the nation? Broadcasters from Bond member stations can now submit their best work. Entries open from July 1st to July 31st, 2025. There are 12 award categories, each for radio and television, from Best Station of the Year to Best News, Drama, Sports, Documentary, and Talk Shows, whether in English or rendered in indigenous languages. Eligible entries are for works aired between January 1st and December 31st, 2024. Do you have what it takes to be named Presenter of the Year, Reporter of the Year, Newscaster of the Year, or Channel of the Year? Then visit www.tmbaawards.ng on how to submit your entries. The Nigeria Broadcasting Awards, celebrating excellence.
Welcome back from that interview with Barrister Favor Adwebo and Barrister Precious Wandi Muya on judicial accountability and reform. So, of course, that is still in the pipeline, and that push is still there for judicial reform, and so we can see an actual independence of the judicial arm. Now let's quickly, because of time, we'll just read out the headlines across the different dailies for the day. We have the Daily Trust, Vanguard, Nigerian Tribune, The Punch, The Guardian, The Daily Times. From the Daily Trust, the lead here says, Tinubu marginalizing North in resources allocation, a statement credited to Kwankwaso, the 2023 NNPP presidential candidate. Why PDP moved convention from Kano to Oyo? Applications for new parties hit 144. Dismissed soldier sentenced to death by hanging for robbery. Why APC selected Netanwe as chairman. 19-year-old woman arrested for allegedly killing 2 minors. Akpabio, Bamidele clash over leadership style. And lastly, from the Daily Trust, How journalist was killed in Kogi. Very, very sad one there.
All right, moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. These are the headlines. It says banks, insurance, and others contribute 1.77 trillion naira in first quarter of 2025. EU editors collaborate to fight fake news and disinformation. 2027. INEC vetting 144 applications for registration as parties. Court orders police to pay #EndSARS protesters 10 million naira over rights violation. 2027. Tinubu mocks coalition as Yil Watda emerges APC chair. And lastly, PDP zones presidency to the south.
Next is the Nigerian Tribune, the major headline, APC chairman, Yilwatda's emergence alters zoning structure. Because of time, I can't take any of the riders. ADC to Tinubu, not a side hustle. PDP votes national convention, November 15, 16 in Ibadan. And the last headline I'll be taking from the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government improves energy transmission capacity with 50.4 megawatts in Ibadan.
Alright, the Punch is next, and it says post-NEC meetings, APC PDP set stage for epic 2027 face-off. New APC chair Watda vows Tinubu's return. Makinde, Bala lead PDP governors in 2027 power takeover plot. And at the top strip, we'll take about two headlines. It says, state slashing power tariffs must pay subsidy. This is coming from NERC. And lastly, on a very sad note, 14 villagers and policemen killed in Plateau attacks. May just rest in peace.
Okay, the Guardian is next, and the big story pages 4 and 5 have captured in them too much of a good thing. How unchecked dietary supplements turn toxic. Lure many to air grade. 2027 Tinubu rallies governors to performance, lures north with slots. Killings. Fulani avenging injustice in Plateau, says herders group. ADC, CUPP kick as Tinubu labels opposition coalition of confusion. And lastly, from the Guardian newspaper, debts, 1.1 trillion naira subsidy, dollarized operations threaten energy transition, I beg your pardon.
Alright, looking at the Daily Times newspaper, the screaming headline here says, Professor Yowatda emerges new APC chairman, pledges unity and party rebuild. At the top strip, it says, create ranches to end farmer header clashes. This is coming from CDS Musa, who urges. And then at the bottom strip, we just take two headlines. It says, cholera outbreak claims 13 lives in Niger as infections spread. And lastly, PDP holds national convention November 15 and 16 in Ibadan.
Alright, let's get back to the studio. Alright, because of time, we won't be able to delve into any, but it's good to see that the APC, they are putting their house in order, having a new chairman, zoning it to North Central for political reasons, of course, as analysts have stated, and also the PDP, they are finally having putting their house in order, and we look forward to the national convention November 15 and 16, and we'll see how everything turns out. Alright, so do well to get yourself a hard copy of these papers, or you can log on to their websites to get details of the headlines we have read out to you. Before we go to virtual.
Thank God it's Friday, but please, because of the weather, try to invest in warm clothing. When you're leaving your house, have an umbrella, have a cardigan, sweater, jacket, just something to keep you warm. This weather, this period is not a time for anybody to be scantily dressed. so do well to cover up properly, and so you will be warm. And yeah.
Okay. The female entrepreneurs along DBS show, they left that WhatsApp group. Not
Yeah,
to be
they did.
scanty-
Oh,
not
yeah,
to be
they did.
scantily interest.
They did. They did.
All right. Also, talking about the season, while driving, please be careful. Do not overspeed during this
Right.
period. Like, it's not even right normally, then let alone during the rains. And you should also be careful when driving. Pay attention to those persons walking by the side, the pedestrians, because you tend to splash water on them if you don't pay attention, and the road is flooded and all of that. So always shut your windows before you leave the house, because
Right.
you never can tell. It can be sunny this moment, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes after you've left your house, it is raining already. Thank you so much for being part of Friday's edition of the Morning Ride, and this is on behalf of the production crew. Have yourself a lovely weekend. It is I, Gaga, thanking you so much for your time.